Right, so what are we doing today? We're doing something just a little bit different. I want to talk about some animated video game trailers that I really like. I'll talk later a little bit about what inspired this idea. It was one of these trailers. Spoiler. This is not like the best animated game trailers I've seen. It's just a lot of game trailers that I enjoy. Basically, all of them are 2D animation. There is one CG piece here in the mix. But overall, yeah, it's just stuff that I enjoy. And another quick note before we get started. It was strangely difficult, or at least more difficult than I would have expected, to find out the names of the animation studios behind many of these trailers. You can find the animation studio usually. Can I make a request to, it could be, people uploading trailers, game trailers to platforms like PlayStation's channel, Xbox's channel, the Nintendo channel, and more specifically, publishers? It would be really great if you could just list some really basic credits in the description of a video when it's relevant. So for example, just showing some gameplay footage of an upcoming game, that trailer will probably have the developer's name, the publisher's name, and everything. But if it's specifically like a cinematic or an animated thing, something produced outside of the development studio, could you please just give a name? Credits would be great. Like actual credits for the people who made the thing would be awesome. That doesn't seem like it would be all that difficult to me, just in general, to kind of give credit where credit is due. And also, not that the animation studios I'm going to be talking about here are struggling. They're all very, very successful. But when you're in the creative industry, name recognition is a big thing. Maybe just go ahead and list that somewhere so that you don't have to go digging around online and hope that somebody else found it before you. Just a little annoyance that I came across when I was doing my research for this thing. That's all. This is just animated stuff I like. I think you should give it all a look, and I'm going to talk about them one at a time. First up is... It's a trailer for the Bad Seed DLC for the game Dead Cells. This came out a couple years ago, I think. And it's not the first trailer that the studio did for Dead Cells, and it's not the last. But this comes from a studio called Bobby Prod in France. And I think Motion Twin, the developer of the game, is also based in France. And Bobby Prod, boy oh boy, do they have their branding just right. They really know what kind of look they're going for on their website. And it turns out this studio is actually a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal, and had done some other stuff that I had heard of, and lots of stuff that I hadn't heard of. Apparently they have a couple of adult animation TV shows that are out there. They also were collaborated on the whole Classique series. You might have seen this stuff going around if you're familiar with Kiki Flipnote, who's a pretty famous French online animation guy. Does some fantastic work, oftentimes in the actual Flipnote program on the 3DS, I think. And this one in particular, it's just great. In general, I think the editing is very well done. It's very noticeably good editing, where they'll pad edits with a sound effect or something, or obviously the way that they present the just Dead Cells, the name at the beginning and at the end, it's very impactful. And also this little tiny trailer does have a storyline. It basically creates a storyline out of just one of the common enemy types that you encounter in this DLC. It's impressive how quickly they managed to build this emotional element to this short. As soon as you understand, this big mushroom guy is the parent, and then the little tiny mushroom kid is the kid. I don't know, it's just, you get it right away. We understand the situation. And it's also just an interesting angle to take for a trailer. I think it's kind of creative. We're not just focusing on the player character. Some of the other trailers that they did for Dead Cells do focus on the player character. But this time around, no, it's just this other story. It's wonderful overall. Obviously the sense of motion is fantastic. I could say that about every single one of the shorts that I'm talking about here. I think the sense of scale is fantastic, specifically the very large enemy. Makes you feel excited to actually play the DLC, which is the point. And just timing of different motion and different actions in general just feels really good right away. We'll end it there, but I love it. I love all these. That's why I'm talking about them in a video during my free time. This is the official launch trailer for My Friend Pedro, which was a little indie game a couple of years ago, published by Devolver Digital. It's wonderful. The animation here is created by a studio called CRCR. It's kind of a collective. I'll put up the description here. They're affiliated with Wiz, which is another bigger French studio, I guess. It's a little bit confusing. But anyway, they're going to be coming up again at CRCR. But in terms of content here, it's a very nice tonal mix of light and dark, which I think is present in the game itself. itself. You have a floating banana friend that's telling you to do all these violent things. The game itself is pretty darn violent and graphic a lot of the time. But yeah, it manages to have that very light tone that's definitely present here. Flipping through the TV is a fun thing. And I think in one of the other trailers, I think the Hype Train trailer, the banana is watching TV. So there's some kind of some visual themes going on there. Gives them a lot of different opportunities for comedy here. And also, as it probably should, this trailer introduces some key game concepts, specifically a variety of weapons, creative ways of killing off the bad guys, basically. The frying pan ricochet is one of the most famous for sure, and it's portrayed in a very exciting way here. And the way that the way that sort of these just generic bad guys look, the design is not generic at all. I don't know, I think it's kind of a neat look. They sort of end at a point. Their head shape kind of continues on from their body. It's a great look. And the trailer overall has a great sense of flow, which is very important to the game itself. It's just great. Okay, next up. Next up we have the trailer for Blasphemous Wounds of Eventide, which is a concluding DLC for the game released back in December. This was created by Sunshine Animation Studio. They are in Spain, and I think the Game Kitchen, which is the developers behind the game, are also located in Spain, so there you go. Sunshine has done a ton of work. I'll put up a thing from their website. Tons of interesting work. I'm not familiar with much of it, but as for this trailer, definitely a heavy emphasis on shadows and marginally I would say almost monochromatic palettes most of the time, and then for a few moments, I think in one of the middle segments, which I'll show here, it really focuses on more or less a complementary palette. We have our orange and blues, which is very, very common in some big budget movies and movie posters especially. We also get a nice variety of settings and backgrounds. Obviously, they're trying to show off like different bosses, different settings from the DLC, but they have a really wonderful way of transitioning between those settings so that it does maintain a sense of coherence. It moves very quickly, and this is honestly a pretty darn short trailer, around a minute or something before it moves on to talking about the sequel. And oh yeah, as I think I mentioned in the intro, and as I wanted to point out here, this is the only one, this is the only animated game trailer in this list where it was very easy to find stuff about, who actually made the thing, the studio, and specific names of people who worked on the trailer, because Team 17 uploaded this like behind the scenes video. It's supposedly the making of the trailer, but really it's just some footage of the musicians who were recording music for the trailer, I suppose, in Madrid, which is fine. I mean, that's still neat. But then at the tail end, they do give us actual credits, and they give credits specifically for the team who created the animation, which I think is wonderful. And I really, really appreciate that. Please, other publishers, other developers, please follow this example and just go ahead and give us credits. We like animation. We like seeing, who worked on something. So that was great. Just wanted to say that before moving on. We are at the official animated launch trailer for Carrion. This was a reverse horror game that had a decent amount of hype around it. But this is another one from CR. I told you they'd be coming back around. It's great. It's it's definitely a different approach to some of the animated trailers that we've been talking about so far. For one thing, I mean, it has this a decent little VHS effect thing. I guess it's supposed to be like the perspective of closed circuit cameras and stuff, which gives us some decent camera angles as well. Explains why we have these camera angles to begin with. At least in character design specifically, and sort of in walking animations, I just felt a lot more anime influence. Like when you just look at some of these faces, it just immediately feels much more anime to me. And this is another very nice touch where this trailer, unlike some of the DLC trailers we've been talking about, it doesn't give you a showcase of many different locations and enemies and abilities and stuff like that. It's really just basically a tiny little horror short. We have our character. If you know the premise of the game, you're essentially playing as a monster that can sometimes disguise itself as a human and killing off humans as you would see in a monster movie. It maintains a great sense of suspense. It's not exactly scary, I would say, but it does get across that core idea really well, and it does that with this really nice measured and calm pacing, and then at the very, very end we get the sort of more horrific stuff, and it's impactful. But we also get a cracked lens, which is a sort of famous filmy thing for when someone's gonna die. You have a cracked lens and a windshield on somebody's glasses, a camera, anything. A little visual thing there. But yeah, this is great. It's just fun to watch. I know it's never gonna happen, but I would kind of like to see a movie version of Carrion in this style specifically. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Alright, so this is the launch trailer for Death's Door. This is the only trailer on the list that is full CG. It was specifically built in Unity using assets from the game itself, which makes perfect sense. Like, it would not be worth the time to remodel everything just for a CG trailer, especially when you're working directly with the developers. So yeah, anyway, this was done by the Trailer Farm. They're associated with some larger studio as well, but they do game trailers and a bunch of other stuff. And according to their website, they did some custom rigging for this trailer and a bunch of hand-keyed animation. I mean, you definitely feel that. It doesn't feel stiff. No, it feels very alive. The sense of movement and timing is what you would expect, especially if you've played the game. It feels very true to the game itself. That's very impressive. And in general, I do kind of prefer this launch trailer to the reveal trailer, which also is not just game footage, but they have sort of these CG little scenes, and we get sort of story elements from that. That was also done by Trailer Farm, but I don't know. This one, it goes back to that idea we've been talking about so much of like trying to give you a taste of just the amount of variety in the game, variety of enemies and locations, biomes, color palettes, things like that, and just the way that it moves from one setting to the next. It's wonderful, and I think it feels like a better overture to the game itself as opposed to that reveal trailer, which, totally in line with the idea of a reveal trailer, really just gives you a taste of what the game is going to be and then shuts down. But this, you get a sense of really what things are going to be like. I love the character designs, and specifically the enemy designs in Death's Door are wonderful. It's such a nice little mix of really cute and fun and also genuinely kind of creepy. It's great. It's wonderful, and that's definitely brought to life here. Okay, second to last, we have the official reveal trailer for Wizard with a Gun. And oh look, who is it once again? The studio behind this is CR. Here they are. Good job, folks. You do wonderful work, apparently. I don't know how many people are working there, but they're cranking them out. I would say for sure that it's very, the word is overused, but I think it's very cinematic in sort of the traditional sense of the word. Like it looks like a movie, and specifically it's clearly taking tons of influence from classic westerns, most likely spaghetti westerns, even more specifically the Dollars trilogy, I think we could say. For one thing, you have the letterboxed aspect ratio. Wonderful use of negative space, in my opinion. Again, the scale, just these really wide shots. You really get a sense of the different environments. There seem to be a handful of main biomes in this game. I don't think it's out yet, is it? And that's definitely conveyed here, largely just for the use of color and environmental elements. We also get some interesting kind of particle stuff in one of the scenes. I guess it's like bits of stuff flying through the wind, and at first I thought it was some kind of like film grain effect in the way that they flew by so fast, but yeah, I think it's just something going through in the wind. Just neat. There's a wonderful tone here. It definitely feels like an adventure, I guess I would say. You do get that variety. You get a lot of excitement from it. You do think, oh yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that thing in the game. This is the last one here. This is something that at the time of recording, it just came out today, early this morning actually, and it is the cinematic trailer for Ollie World, which is coming out a couple weeks or something. It comes out in February, I think. The developer here is Roll7, and I think Private Division is the publisher, and then all of that is owned by Take-Two, so it's a whole string of media companies doing stuff here. But honestly, in terms of the studio or the individuals responsible for the animation we're seeing here, I'm sorry, I don't know who it is. I could not find it. I looked around for a good while and I couldn't find anything. There were at least 4 different articles from like sort of clickbaity sites that just like have an article that says, oh, there's a new trailer for Ollie World, and that's the article, and then they just try to pad it out with other information like, oh, it's going to release for these platforms. It's like, okay, yeah, we knew all that. Thanks, I guess you got my click, because I wanted some information and got virtually none. And yeah, none of those articles could name an animation studio. There's a tweet, I think it's Roll7 tweeted, hey, look at this new cinematic trailer. We think it looks really great. They didn't say who did it, so who knows? Maybe it's an in-house thing at Roll7. Sorry, gang, I can't give credit here. Somebody did a very good job here, and it's absolutely one of my favorites, and it is in fact the trailer that inspired me to make this video, because it's just so much fun. I feel okay about the Ollie World games. I played them before, and this one is definitely a drastic departure in terms of art direction and color. It's very bright, tons of different color going on. It's very vibrant overall, and even the little character design designs are completely different. It seems like they're going to have a number of animated cutscenes in the game as well. Maybe not. I've got my fingers crossed for that, though, because this little piece here, it's wonderful. Basically, you just have this skater character, presumably your character, doing this crazy hill bomb up a giant ramp, and then they fist bump God. It's a little goofy, and I think one of those articles I mentioned said that in the comments somewhere, Roll7 themselves said that a big influence for this trailer was Adventure Time. So that's neat. I mean, I guess I see it. I don't know if I would pin it specifically to Adventure Time, but rather just like contemporary internet animation in general. Like, it just feels like it has that kind of energy and like a sense of hip that, I don't know, generally works, and works even for people who aren't necessarily living this kind of lifestyle. It works for general audiences, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's really good overall. Can you get the sense that that's how I feel about this trailer? Some wonderful sound work overall, and I guess it's incorporated into the music as well. It's a great music track. I assume it's from the game. I love the camera. Oh my gosh, it's like a living camera. It definitely reminds you of BMO for sure, with the face and everything. But the design of the camera, I'm gonna guess it's been modeled after the Sony VX1000, which is arguably the most famous camera in the world of skate filming. It's not a one-to-one thing, but it does in fact seem like it's, at least inspired by that camera design. So they did their research too. I appreciate that. And yeah, even early on, the camera work, the virtual camera going on here, sort of mimics real life skate filming, where you'll have someone following along on their own board, and they kind of, the skater will kind of swerve away from the filmer and come back around. The camera movement gets insane after that point, but just for that moment, I was like, oh, that's a really neat feel. I don't know, it made it feel more, I guess, grounded before it goes completely insane, but I thought it worked really well. I love character designs in general here, environment designs. The ice cream guys are wonderful. They look delicious. I don't know if purple ice cream in this particular shade is a thing, but I would very much like some, please. And that's really all I have to say about this. It's a great little trailer. Like I said, it motivated me to make this video. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Like I said, it would be great to consistently give credit to animation studios when they do this kind of work, because it's obviously meant to promote the games, but as we all know here, anybody showing up on this channel especially, we just like animation in general. We really like it, and we really like to follow specific artists whose work we really enjoy, and that's more difficult when you don't know what the names of the artists are who worked on the darn thing. I hope you've enjoyed this little romp through animated game trailers. I've definitely really enjoyed it, and I'd love to explore some more. Please, if you have any recommendations, CG or 2D, there's really no limits there. Even stop motion stuff. I know they did some stop motion animation for some of the old Yoshi games, and I think the Wii U era. So it's all on the table. Share some of your favorites. If anyone knows the specific, studio, just names of animators who worked on that Ollie World trailer, please let me know, because I don't know, it feels kind of weird to me that I just can't find it. It's the internet after all. Okay, I think that's about it. Thanks for stopping by.